Welcome to the Anxious to Secure podcast. I'm Yula, your anxious attachment style coach. I'll help you to finally stop overthinking your relationship by overcoming your fear of being left by your partner. Thought by thought, action by action, now episode by episode. Why? So you can experience true, authentic, anxiety-free love and feel a lasting ripple effect in all areas of your life. Are you ready to become the best secure version of yourself? Let's go. Welcome to episode 16. Today's podcast episode is all about when relationships feel one-sided. Today's Relationship Myth Buster Tuesday, and we're busting the myth that relationships should be 50-50. So does this sound familiar? You feel like you're pulling all the weight. You're trying to fix the relationship and your partner seems to withdraw more and more. The relationship might feel really one-sided, right? So the more you try to fix it, the more they slip away. You understand that giving them space maybe is important, but nothing seems to change somehow. And you're really hoping for that to change, right? So, by the way, as always, I have lots of free resources linked in the show notes in this episode for you. But I've noticed that on Apple, if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, the links don't work, not just on my podcast, but also on all the other podcasts. And I think I've so far only checked on Spotify because I'm listening on Spotify on all my shows, and they always work. So in case you're not listening on Spotify or on Apple or any other hosting platforms, you can always head over to my Instagram at the Anxious to Secure Coach and type in there the needs guide for today's resource to access there your free guide. And today's resource is all about 3 steps that stop you from being needy in your relationship. You'll find 3 signs to figure out if you're actually being needy. And needy is, I'm going to put in air quotes because it's kind of like an ugly word, right? And I'm going to normalize the word in there for you, what it actually means. It's a very powerful resource. Head over to my Instagram and put in the word needs guide under any of my posts or reels to grab the free resource. And so, let's go into the episode more. So this episode comes from a question someone sent me on Instagram, and I'm going to share it anonymously. I don't know how. One second. ChatGPT. How do I say the word anonymously correctly?
This. No, not musty. Another non-stop soft sound again. But quick. Slee. Rhymes with flea.
Can you say it faster?
Of course. Faster. Slee. Say it a few times and it'll click.
Anonymously.
Want to try it with me?
Anonymously.
You nailed it. Keep saying it like that.
Thank you.
And it'll feel effortless.
Anonymously. Perfect. That was embarrassing. Hey, let's pretend nothing happened. I'm going to probably cut this out. So this episode comes from a question someone sent me on Instagram. I keep the name anonymously, but here's the message. I understand now that I need to give my partner more space when she asks for it. And I can see that it does have positive impact. I also recognize the importance of being patient, managing my emotions, thoughts, and actions, and making sure I don't unintentionally trigger her. But there's a part I'm struggling with. What does my partner, my avoidant partner tendencies bring to the table, bring to the relationship? It feels like I'm constantly the one adjusting, whether it's by giving space, being understanding, or keeping myself in check. I'm happy to do my part, but it's hard to not feel like the effort is one-sided at times. Am I missing something here? How do avoidance contribute in ways that maybe I'm not recognizing? Or is it fair to expect more balance in how we meet each other's needs? So, first of all, I want to tell you, I really can see how much effort and work you already put in the relationship, and that's amazing. Seriously, recognizing the work you've done is huge, because I know we chatted a few weeks or maybe even already months ago, and it sounded a little bit different at that time. So I can see how much work you've put in. I see you. And let me tell you, I get it. I know how hard it can feel like when you are putting in all the effort, all the energy, and you still kind of feel like stuck. You still feel like, what's going on here? Why is it still feeling like I'm the one trying to fix the relationship? I'm the one doing all of this. Why is my partner not coming towards me? I always say we need to focus on ourselves and do our part, but it doesn't mean I don't understand how really freaking tough it can be when it doesn't feel like there isn't enough coming from your partner. And then you start overthinking again, if my partner's into me, so I get it. And sometimes when we're doing the work, when we work on ourselves, it can feel like you're hitting a wall, you're not going any further. You're making changes, showing up differently, and yet still it feels like your partner isn't meeting you where you think they should meet you. And maybe you think they should meet you in the middle. Even when I read about relationships online, everyone thinks relationships should be 50-50. But here's the thing, part is really recognizing all of this, how much work you're doing, and that you're really being proud of yourself and recognizing yourself in this and really acknowledging your emotions as well. Because the truth is, the effort you're putting in is huge. And that is a sign that you're moving forward. You're not stuck here. And that effort is never going to waste, even if you feel like what your relationship is not progressing. And then there's this other important part. When you say the relationship feels one-sided, let's take a closer look at that as well. So are you doing all the work, or could it be that your partner is actually contributing in ways that maybe doesn't match your expectations? Because avoidant partners often show love differently, and that's really important to understand and to look a bit closer to, and to be like a researcher, be like a detective, to be curious about. Their contributions might not be as obvious or the same as you expect them to be. Your love might look differently. How theirs might look like. For example, they might be more providing financial stability or fix things around the house or thinking about other important things that might not be important for you at all, Or maybe they offer practical solutions instead of only emotional reassurance. Maybe you want to have just some closeness. Maybe you just want to have a date night. Maybe you just want this, like a nice chat after she comes home from work, just a quick hug, or hey, how are you doing? How was your day? Something like this. But for your partner, it might look more rather talking about things, what's going on for the next days regarding tasks, or who's doing what, something like this. Like my partner's love language, like compared to mine, looks completely different. My partner feels really he's a good partner when he's providing for me in terms of cooking and organizing things around the house as well. It can look so different if we overlook the way how we show up for each other. That can also create a lot of unbalanced expectations. So it's easy to miss, these actions when they don't align with our love language, but they might be their way of showing care. So here are a few questions maybe you can ask yourself. What are my expectations for how my partner should show love? And I'm going to put should in air quotes, right? Because there's never like a rule book they should follow. Or am I focusing so much on what they're not doing that I'm overlooking what they are doing? And could their way of giving just look different from mine? So these are quite important questions to reflect on. And now let's shift the focus back to you. So this is where things can get a little bit tricky, because as an anxious attachers, we tend to put our partner under the microscope, right? You might be constantly analyzing, are they doing enough? Are they meeting my needs? Are they showing up the way I need them to, so I can feel safe, so I can feel loved, so I can feel, reassured, and I don't have to worry and think about the future, and, I don't feel this uncertainty. But here's the thing. Are you doing this work so your partner comes closer to you, or are you doing it to feel better? Are you doing it for you? And are you doing the work actually to feel more empowered about yourself? This is here the thing that maybe might be underneath the work. I feel like a lot of people doing it for the wrong reasons, and it's okay if you do it from at the beginning. A lot of times we're trying to maybe break the anxious avoidance cycle in hope, of course, that your partner might come closer to you once they feel more safe. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's completely normal. But in the end, you really want to create a list of benefits why this work is beneficial for you. I really dare you to create a list of benefits, like write down as many reasons as possible why this will benefit you. How can you feel better when you change your anxious attachment style in all the ways possible for your mental health, for your physical health, for your relationships? How do you feel differently? How do you show up differently for your friendships, for your family, for your partner, for yourself, for your career every day? In 3 weeks' time, in 3 months' time, in 1 year, in 5 years, when you're 80 years old, when you look back onto your life, this work is not just for your partner, so your partner comes back. It's much, much bigger than that. Is your partner's inconsistent behavior or lack of reassurance driving you crazy? Guess what? That's not the real problem here. The real issue is your abandonment wound, the deep-rooted fear of being left behind. What if they leave? What if I'm not a priority? What if I'm actually not good enough? If you're ready to go from anxious to secure and stop overthinking everything they do, then I'll share with you all my secrets, how I went in just 6 months from anxious to secure. Head to the link in bio. You got this. And sometimes resentment can build up very easily if we do all of things so our partner can change, so our partner shows up differently. Because we have these unspoken expectations. We think if my partner reassures me in this specific way, then I can feel safe. If they show me love in this very specific way, then I can feel loved. If they show up differently, then. But that's conditional thinking, and it's rooted in deeper fears of either abandonment wounds or of unworthiness wounds. So I would really dig a little bit deeper here. What wounds are showing up for myself still, even though I've done all of this work already? And anxious attachment often really develops as a survival mechanism, right? If you grew up feeling like love was earned perhaps through overgiving or meeting certain conditions, it makes sense that those patterns would show up in your adult relationships, in your romantic relationships, maybe even in friendships. You might think, if they do this thing, then I can relax. Then I don't need to worry. Then I know everything will be okay. If they do exactly this specific thing, then everything is okay. Then I don't need to learn to create a life I'm obsessed with. And avoidance, on the other hand, learns to protect themselves by maintaining independence. For them, safety comes from having space and autonomy. It's not about who's right or wrong here as well. It's about understanding the different ways you both try to feel safe. Again, you as an anxious attacher, and I get it, you have done already so much work and that's amazing, but in general, anxious attachers really feel loved and safe in connection and always, focusing on your partner. And even if you have already managed to give them space, still your belief might be still attached on them. If I'm with my partner, if I'm around them, if I spend quality time with them, I'm fulfilled, and that fills up my cup of connection and reassurance and safety and all of that. But when I'm not with them, there's something missing. I'm not excited. And the opposite is true for your partner. But really learning to create a circle of friends, of ways to meet these needs in other ways is very, very important. So there's a more of a balance as well. Otherwise you expect your partner to be your everything for you, and that's too much pressure for one person to take on. And if you're still hyper-focusing on your partner, it's a sign that you're stuck in fight or flight mode, actually. You're caught in this, anxious-avoidant dynamic where the more you reach out to them, the more they pull away. And that's, again, very typical. If you're in fight mode, meaning you're in very activated energy, versus your partner is often in a very deactivated energy, meaning withdrawing, shutting down, avoiding the problem, versus the anxious is often this very I need to walk towards the problem. I want to figure this out. I want to try to, seek a solution. I'm going to message the coach or the therapist and try to solve this. And that can be very great because, you're doing more, you're doing and trying to figure this out, versus the avoidant. They would want to avoid things. They want to, they rather walk away and, drink alcohol to forget their problems. They want to be on their phone, scroll through social media to avoid that, everything to avoid the problem. So how can we break free from this cycle? Hey you, if you're tired of just listening to all the podcasts, reading all the self-help books, and feeling like your therapy sessions aren't creating the transformation you desire, it's time to take action. You'll have to check out my Anxious to Secure course, where I reveal all my secrets and strategies that help me to heal my anxious attachment style within just 6 months. Here's the truth. 95% of our actions are driven by our subconscious mind. So even if you know the right steps to do, even if you know you have to stop chasing, to set boundaries, to focus on yourself, your subconscious mind is still stuck in fear mode. It's not enough to just know what to do. You need to rewire your mind and shift those old beliefs. That's where your real transformation happens. No more spiraling when your partner pulls away, feeling unloved when they don't shower you with compliments, anxious waiting for their validation and reassurance. These triggers are not to do with your partner. They're about your abandonment wounds that keeps resurfacing over and over again. Imagine this. Feeling secure from within, even when your partner needs space. Knowing your worth, even if they're not prioritizing you at every moment. Moving through your relationship with confidence, no matter what. If you want this kind of transformation, grab my Anxious to Secure course now before the price goes up after the first round. Comment blueprint under any of my Instagram posts or head to the link in bio. So don't wait, you're worth it. So how can we break free from this cycle? And start by asking, what am I doing to feel safe and secure in my relationships from within myself? Are you prioritizing your own goals, like really your passions, your self-care? Are you filling up your own cup yourself independently? Do you actually know what you need? Or are you deep down abandoning yourself still? Are you expecting your partner still to fix how you feel, or are you working on that yourself? And remember, filling up your own cup isn't about pulling away from your partner. It's about showing up as your most empowered self, so that your relationship isn't the only source of happiness and security. And I want to touch on a little bit about the point that relationships, should be 50-50, because that's a big myth. That's something I used to believe years and years ago. And the more I think we really grasp on relationship should be 50-50, the more we kind of build resentment, the more we kind of keep scores on what my partner did last week and what I'm doing. And in my eyes, relationships are rarely balanced 50-50. There's always one partner who's more active in certain areas and in others. And that's okay. The problem is when we attach meaning to it, when we think I'm doing more because they don't love me. So ask yourself really, what is the meaning you attach to this when you think there's a problem? When you think my partner isn't doing enough, she's not stepping up. Ask yourself, what am I making it mean when my partner isn't giving as much as I would love her to? It's not about keeping score. It's about recognizing how your dynamics reflect your attachment styles and how you can work together to create, something stronger. And again, this is just a little glimpse. I don't know enough about your situation. I don't know exactly your needs and what you're asking her to meet here. And how you both really show up for each other, right? This is just a little glimpse of what I've experienced so far often in anxious avoidant relationship dynamics, and some questions you can ask yourself here. And yeah, just a few final thoughts to the person who sent me this question. I already see how much work you've done already, and you can be proud of yourself. But I also want to remind you a little bit that real change takes time, right? It doesn't happen in a few weeks or months even sometimes. Sometimes it can take longer, especially if you do expect your partner to feel more safe and secure and to step it up more, let's say, if this is what you're hoping for. And ask yourself this: are you doing this work to bring your partner closer to you, or to feel more empowered and secure within yourself? And yeah, that's the question I want to leave with today for you. And if this resonates with you, you can message me again. I hope it was a little bit helpful. Again, I don't know enough about the background and how much you really communicated and about your specific needs, but I hope it was just a start here. And I also want to mention, if I wouldn't mention this in this episode, I think it would be kind of a little bit misleading in case you misunderstand this episode. I want to be real with you. If you've been doing the work, not for your partner, but for you, let's say for 3 months or 6 months or whatever your period is, ask yourself also these questions. Have you truly shown up as the best version of yourself? Have you filled your cup and focused on your life and yourself from what's going on in your relationship? Have you communicated from a detached and grounded place? And have you been patient and kind and loving while also maintaining boundaries at the same time? And if you've done all of that and the needle still hasn't moved at all from your partner's side, I need you to hear this as well. Don't accept the breadcrumbs. Look closely at what's happening in your relationship. Is this truly the dynamic you want to stay in? Are you staying because you're genuinely happy and fulfilled? Or are you staying out of fear? Fear of being alone, fear of being abandoned, and fear that you are not good enough and you might not find something like this again. Because this is also important, right? Sometimes that fear can convince you that staying, even when you're being disrespected or not valued, is easier than leaving. But taking breadcrumbs or tolerating disrespect will slowly chip away at your self-esteem more and more. And you deserve better than that. And here's the truth: if your partner isn't curious, isn't trying to move towards your needs at all, isn't moving even a little bit, even after you've done the work to create a secure foundation, it might be time to ask yourself these really hard questions, right? Be brave. Are you staying because your partner makes you feel safe, excited, happy, or because your fear of leaving feels bigger than your discomfort of staying? I want you to remember, most people rather stay in the discomfort of the familiar rather than in the comfort of the unfamiliar. It's okay to take gradual steps. You don't have to make any decisions overnight. Get help if you need it, whether that's working on your secure attachment style while you're still in the relationship, or talking to a coach, talking to me. You can message me anytime, leaning on your support system. Even if it's just with a few people, you don't have to have this huge support system. 1 or 2 people are totally enough. And my first, something I always say is, it's the easiest actually being in a relationship while working on your attachment style, because we need to be exposed to triggers to actually heal our attachment style, because this is how the fastest way how you work on relationships, right? Being in relationships. But you can also make a start if you're not in a relationship. So you can start dating eventually. You can start learning about emotions. You can work with friendships and with family members on your attachment style. This can be a beginning as well, especially if it's unbearable and if you feel hopeless and sad in your current relationship. That's something I wanted to share with you as well. And most of my clients and most people I attract are generally in healthy relationships, but just have relationship anxiety, and that's why they doubt their partner and just have an avoidant attached partner. But usually they do love each other, and it's just love shows up in different ways, and because they're still in this kind of low fight and flight, low, survival state. But if that is not you, let's say if you kind of deep down know your partner is not really bothered anymore, they don't want to be with you, and you kind of know that, then that's something you don't want to be in. So that's something I want to make clear here as well. So show yourself self-respect and trust yourself, be brave, because staying in a relationship that chips away your self-esteem will be only, reinforcing your anxious cycle, your anxiety, and will make things worse. And over time, it's harder and harder to get out of it. So I hope this was helpful. I hope I gave you some motivation or inspiration or some thoughts in the end. And if anyone else is listening to this and thought, I want to hand in a personal question as well, feel free to head over to my Instagram, just DM me, just maybe start with like podcast questions, so I know right away that is something you want to hand in. Feel free to grab my guide as well, the needs guide, and I'll see you in the next episode. Feel free to share this with one person or share it on social media, and I love you so much. Bye bye. Thank you so much for being with me here today. Remember, change in your relationship starts with you. Thought by thought, action by action, and now episode by episode. If you love this episode and want to give me a virtual high five, please give me a 5-star rating wherever you're listening from. It really helps me to boost this podcast a little bit higher in the ranking, so I can help even more people just like you. And even share it with one more person you think would really benefit from this episode. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you. Bye-bye.